Welcome to Let's Talk. I'm Jade Harrell, and I'm here with Amber Clear, Amy Rivera, and Teena Love. Each week, we like to come together to discuss the issues we face as women, and we always like to start with, what are you loving right now? So let me start with you this time, Teena Love. What are you loving right now? What's being good to you?
Yes, well, I'll tell you, I am loving fall, and it's one of the times when I like the climate. The temperature is good outside, the leaves are changing, which leads me to a trip that I'm about to take. It's at a place called GETAWAY in Cleveland, Ohio. They have one in Atlanta, they have one in California and Pennsylvania. So it's a little tiny house, and there's a big picture window. Your bed is right in front of the window, so it feels like you're actually sleeping outside. So it just, yes, I'm loving that. I'm loving fall, and I'm looking forward to my camp trip.
That'll be great. Now, you feel the same way when the sun sets and it's dark out there and all your neighborly critters are coming to wish you good night?
Yes, well, it just depends at that time with who you're with.
Hey, okay. It could be a grizzly bear or a snuggly bear. But that's your business, so I'm not even going to. I encourage and salute you in that, my dear. Amber, what are you loving right now? What's on your hit list as far as what's great?
I absolutely love all of the campfire conversations that have been happening. The weather is perfect, and it is s'mores weather, and just sitting around a campfire talking with friends and future friends. And I like glamping. There's a really awesome place just outside of St. Louis called Lost Hill. I think that's what it's called. Pretty sure. They have like an RV bus that's turned into like this gorgeous camper. Even just like all the rooftop bars like Moonrise and Last Hotel that have like their fiery things, just sitting up there, being around a fire and eating and talking to friends.
Yeah. Isn't that something? The power of fire and the power of water.
And the moon.
And the moon and all of those things that can also, nurture and give life, or can be such powerful destructive forces. Well, we say destructive, but that's something that we're contending with in our environment even now. So what about you, Amy? What is the fall beholding for you?
Well, like Amber and Teena, I was enjoying the evening the other night and smelling the campfire, smelling the breeze. All I could think about was, this is a fresh start for us, and I feel like it's cleansing this year. And, as the cold weather comes in, it kills everything, and I'm hoping that's what it does with the morale. And, like, we get to have a fresh start. So I'm enjoying this weather, and I'm enjoying the clear skies to see the stars and the moon, and I'm thinking, I feel less tense and less anxiety with it. So I'm really enjoying exactly what Amber and Teena said. Just the fall weather.
Yes, that's all good. Well, I'm loving what you're loving. And for me in particular right now, I'm loving fuzzy slippers and self-care. You all talked about it a couple of weeks back, and I really committed to being mindful and deliberate about self-care. So I've enrolled in a 6-week plant-based nutrition course with fabulously vegan Artensis. And I'm excited that starts today.
Well, that sounds great.
Vegan. All the way vegan.
Well, it's just to get I'm not going to say it's just, maybe I will, who's to say that I wouldn't? I love plant-based eating, but I also love carb-based eating and protein-based and all those other kinds of eating. But I guess the whole idea is that making a deliberate plan, come up with a system, and get into a routine of really supplementing my journey nutritionally and with self-care.
Are you taking in the aspect of like the health-wise of it, or is it just like a morally like self-care thing, or is it both?
It's kind of all of that. And then I must also say that, I do have a conscience about animals, and then whether or not dominion means devour, those kinds of things. But for me, I do love the experience of cooking and preparing and enjoying something healthy and nutritious. I'm from Denver, so buffalo, cow, rabbit, all that stuff was something.
So wait, is your family going on this with you too, or is this a you alone thing?
Well, I'm gonna ask you to keep your voice down so that we don't give it all away up front. If I happen to sneak a couple of tomatoes in a dish, if I happen to sneak, they don't have to know. So don't snitch on me. But I hope they can, so that they don't end up in the same fight and struggle as adults that I'm now trying to reclaim. I've always loved healthy eating, but I also would go way far the other way too. And once I go, I don't know, maybe that's a dynamic of me. I probably could have been a Libra, but that's
what I am. I'm a Libra.
And that's probably why you were talking about, whether or not it made sense or balance. And that's kind of great, because what we're talking about falls right in line with what we said we wanted to talk about today. And that is feminism and feminist, and what that actually means to you as a woman, and the attention that it's getting now. It almost is a curse word or bad language in some circles. So feminist and feminism is getting a lot of attention these days, and it's thanks in part or attributed to Supreme Court nominee Amy Coney Barrett. And some are calling her, or Barrett, depending on what part of the country you're from, some are calling her a conservative feminist, as if those don't go hand in hand. But those words, we have to decide whether they can exist together. The dictionary's definition is the advocacy of women's rights on the basis of equality of the sexes. Pretty simple. Amber, we kind of kicked this off with you before today. The definition of a conservative feminist or a conservative is holding to traditional attitudes and values and cautious about change or innovation. So typically in relation to politics or religion. So how do those go together if they can? All right, ladies, let's talk. Amber, how would you define feminism?
So I think feminism is just advocating for a woman's right to have a seat at the table and just be equal on all fronts. And I think that means that it gives every woman a right to choose whether she wants to be conservative or whether she wants to be liberal. It's not just about one side or the other. I think the definition of feminism is at its very core a situation where you have to accept all types of women, not just from the segment that you yourself come from. Because if I'm arguing for women to have a voice, then I'm arguing for all women to have a voice, not just women who share the same opinion as I do.
Mm-hmm. I definitely agree with that.
Yep.
And so, Amy, then if we're throwing conservative on top of that as a layer, can they exist? If women's rights have been denied historically, and being a conservative means that you hold on to tradition and values and things that have already been in place, how do you see that playing out together?
So, I actually posted about grace the other day, and here's how I look at being conservative. If I am going to fight for our rights and equality, like Amber said, just because I don't agree with some of the decisions you make on your personal life, that doesn't mean I need to judge you. That just means I can separate myself and still give grace to you. Who am I to tell you what to do with your body or your tradition? My job is to make sure we all sit at the same table one way or another. So if I don't believe in certain things that you may believe in, that doesn't mean I shouldn't support you in other areas as a woman. Mm-hmm. And that's where we're getting attacked. I feel like the world says you have to be one way or the other. Yeah. Well, why can't we just be supportive and give grace to those who we don't agree with? Mm-hmm. That's the way I look at it.
So what does that look like, ladies, when it comes to a Supreme Court nominee? So obviously the characteristic of womanhood was an important factor. Now we have someone who actually does make decisions, or who would have decisions over what I may or may not want to do in my personal life. See, here we're talking about a person who has not only authority, but has purview to impact what will happen in your day to day. We're known to be positive. Hey, let's talk those girls. They so sweet. They so nice. So we're going to think and lead like that. But when it comes down to this, we're going to have to choose someone. How does that reconcile with the idea of, hey, everybody's okay. You be you, you be me. When we've got to choose someone to make some really tough decisions for us.
I would hope that this person would not try to push their values and beliefs on other people, that they would, like Amy said, give people grace. I mean, just because you feel a certain way doesn't mean that everybody else has to and should feel that way. So I would hope that they would stick to, the facts and, kind of be neutral when it comes to that position, but they can still have their views. But I just think that they shouldn't push their views on others.
Yeah. When you separate your values and your feelings from your work or your responsibility, you hear people say all the time, well, it's my job. But a lot of conversation is coming up nowadays that you can't just stop at your job. People are saying, well, I'm a Black man first, or I'm a woman first, or I'm a Christian or Catholic first. So we've got so many identities that are competing for importance and relevance. Can you separate your values and beliefs from the work that you have before you? Is that possible?
I think it's possible. I
do too.
I think it's possible. I can. Yeah. At the end of the day, everybody is not Teena. Everybody's not Teena Love. Everybody doesn't think like Teena Love. And so in my job, I have to, as a leader in leadership, I always have to take a step back and understand that. And, at that point, be neutral and listen to everybody and take everybody's input and not try to push my views or what I want off on other people.
I got that. I feel like stirring some stuff up today, y'all, though, because if we look at this, like, honestly, we have to, like, if I could just compel us a little tight. Say it's a scenario where your job requires you to do something unfair. For example, we've got people who are responsible for information coming from our White House. And if something's going awry or wrong, your values would say, speak up and put a stop to this. But your job says, don't you talk badly about your employer. Do you all still uphold or decide, hey, you know what? I'm going to look the other way because my values don't play a role in my decision in my form of employment. Amy, Amber?
Here's the thing. You have to decide if you have that luxury, because at the end of the day, you have to be able to provide for your family. So sometimes you do have to compromise your morals so that you can provide for your family. You have to make a choice whether you're going to possibly risk losing your job to speak up, or you're going to make sure that your kids have food on the table. So I don't judge anyone based on what they do or don't do, because I don't know the whole situation. Now, I know that I have a certain luxury. I don't have children. I don't have just one means of income. So if something is happening at my job and I need to speak up, I do. Because at the end of the day, like, I have enough padding in my bank account that is going to protect me. Lots of people don't have that. So it is a luxury to be able to speak out without fear of repercussions. And it's not
it is a luxury. And as women, we're talking about feminism. Our extra padding sometimes removes your ability to have, like you said, the luxury, the flexibility.
Well, even if you look right now at what's happening in our current society, where kids are not physically in school and women are having to step away from their jobs in the workforce so that someone can teach and watch their children. And a lot of times, like, let's say the man makes more than the woman, or the woman makes more. It's not always about that. It's about, that's just your role as a woman. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Y'all didn't have that conversation about, hey, maybe you make more and you have better benefits.
So you sound like a feminist.
I'm always going to be a feminist. Do I support all women? Yes. Do I?
And that's the definition that I'm embracing.
Yeah. But am I going to support someone just because they're a woman? No.
Say what?
Am I going to? So there's a difference between saying I support all women, and saying, am I going to support that person just because she's a woman? No, because here's the thing: at the end of the day, like, there is a difference. I'm not going to just support someone because they're female. Am I going to support all females? Yes. Two different things.
So then we go back to conservatism.
Yes.
Conservatism. Because if we're holding on to tradition, there would not be a role for a woman unless someone spoke up and said, hey, you know what? I need a woman in this position. In fact, the nominee now was determined, we're going to put a woman in place of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. We're going to make sure, or I'm going to appoint a woman. So
are we patronizing women at that point, saying, hey, a woman left this role, let's fill it with a woman? Are we patronizing women?
Are we doing it just because
I want the best available candidate? Is that candidate a woman? Is that candidate a man? No, I just want the best available candidate.
Got it. I got it. Ladies, do you agree with that if that means there wouldn't be any women at the table? Would you hold that same stance?
Yeah, that's a tough question, because I do agree with Amber. There are women that, again, this is where grace comes. I don't fully agree with, but I don't need to slam them either. So I separate myself. And does that look at a way of supporting them? Well, maybe I can support them in other areas, maybe just not this particular area that I don't agree with.
That's good.
Doesn't mean they're wrong. It doesn't mean I'm right.
Right.
And
it doesn't make you a bad feminist if you don't support a person.
You can support that person.
That sounds like bad grandmas or bad moms, some bad feminists. We could be out here. We could be out here causing some ruckus. I would agree.
Right.
Well,
if you're mom drinking because you can't deal with the school, I'm not going to judge you, because
because I will be.
right. I agree with Amber on this. It's like, just because I don't support you in this certain arena does not mean I won't support you in others.
But what about women's collective, ladies? If I don't support this woman, then I may be taken away or detracting from the women collective. Is that a factor? And it's a tough one. I'm not saying that I have an answer, but I feel like
here's a really important factor. If you have limited women on the table, whatever women are on the table are setting a precedent. So if you have a bad woman at the table, the people that are sitting at that table with that bad woman are going to assume that all of the other women are like that one person, because they have a limited
unless
scope.
They feel like you do, and they won't judge all women based on that.
I wish that more people were more open and forgiving. I wish that more people
It's going to take some work. We have to work at that. Now, is a bad woman better than no woman? Again, having a seat at the table, and for us to even be having this show and this conversation, I know this hits close to home.
Yeah, I'd rather
have a bad woman than no woman.
I would rather have no representation at all than to have bad representation.
Yes,
because
I agree.
if you represent me poorly, I have to work 5 times as hard to overcome that hill than if there's no representation. Because a clean slate is easier to lay foundation than to have to dig from a hole that someone else has made.
Exactly.
Well, I feel like we have a consensus that we, as women, are feminists based on the definition of standing for the rights of women. We want men, women, and animals to be feminists too, because that support, if you're standing for our issues, if you're representing us, then you need to represent us well. I think we can all
agree. Yes, absolutely.
So don't go making no more underwire bras.
Please.
Hey, I like my underwire. I like to keep things up.
Got to keep people up.
Find our way back to lingerie. I don't even understand. But with that, we're talking about supporting other women, supporting ourselves, and supporting local businesses. And we're going to take a break. I want to ask, how are you helping during this crucial time? Are you complaining? Are you participating? Or how are you helping? We're sharing some creative ideas. Stick around on how we can support local businesses and help us with some ideas about how. We'll be right back.
No doubt you're going places, young lady.
Thank you. And thank you for the interview as well. I can imagine it was the last thing that you wanted to do after such a long campaign meeting.
You really are a very intelligent young woman. You're very smooth.
You're very smooth yourself.
You have no idea.
I understand. I know it's not your typical resume.
Okay, well.
But candidate. But I've been working double shifts just to pay for books. I've been raising my 2 little brothers. I'm determined, driven, motivated. Isn't that what you're looking for?
Look beyond the resume and discover new ways to develop great talent at gradsoflife.org.
And welcome back to Let's Talk. I'm Jade Harrell here with Amber Clear, Amy Rivera, and Teena Love, talking about our local businesses and how we can support them. They are the lifeblood of our city, and they are facing all sorts of challenges since the spring, new policies and procedures and regulatory standards, as well as reduced clients, patronage, and involvement. So they're the lifeblood of our neighborhoods. They need our support now more than ever before. Let's come up with some ideas, or if you have some ideas, how are we and can we better support our local businesses? Amber?
I think at the end of the day, we all only have so much money to spend. And so we need to spend it intentionally. And what I mean by that is we need to pick the businesses that are supporting our community before all this happened. Who were the people and what businesses were supporting your kids' Little League, that were supporting any local organization? Who's helping now? Because even me buying a car, I will look at who donates to what and what their mission statement is before I make a choice. And more importantly, right now, I'm actually in the process of switching banks, because the bank that I have banked at since I was 18 years old has been bought out. And not only did all of their fees change, and some of their fees, I'll be honest, their interest rates are actually lower, which benefits me in that aspect. But they also got rid of some of their staff. So now when I call, because I do call and talk to a real person sometimes, I get put on an answering service and they call me back a day later. And more importantly, they stopped supporting all of the little things that they deemed unnecessary. So on one hand, the fees are less, and that should benefit me more, right? But I look at the greater sense of community, because if you're a business and you're not actively involved in the community that you're doing business in, I think that you are an idiot, because the better the community does, the better the business does. And we have got to get that through people's heads. So I am supporting businesses that are supportive of the community. Now, I get not all businesses can be supportive right now. The higher cost to operate, they have to pay for PPE, they have to pay for outdoor seating if they're a restaurant. However, that's something that I am very aware of, how well the integration between a business and a community can impact our society. So
Yeah,
that's a great way of looking at that, actually. I never really thought of it that way.
Every dollar you spend in your local community pours back into your community. Now,
absolutely.
I shop with big brands too.
And that's not bad. Here's the thing. People always dock
stuff,
on like,
right? There's
oh,
stuff
hey.
but the deliberate, conscious effort that I keep that dollar as close to home as much as possible means that it's not something that I just consume for myself, but it benefits my family, my children, my neighbors. I
obviously live on the Illinois side, okay? If I haven't talked about that enough, I live on the Illinois side. Gas, fuel is way cheaper in Missouri, but I specifically get gas at the gas station in my neighborhood, because that's where I live. So I want those tax dollars to go to my neighborhood. I want to support that gas station that supports the church next door to where I live, that supports the VFW in my neighborhood, because those are what I call enhancements.
Yeah.
And if I wanted to live in a community where there was nothing like that, then I would have chosen to live somewhere else. And
have you ever been down the highway, you guys, traveling in one town to the next, or in the main areas? It's all the same restaurants, all the same stores. Like, you wouldn't know any town USA from another. And so I really love as well those, and I'm a small business, the small businesses that make up the real character, heart, and a lot of time pillars, longevity of our communities. How are you? What ideas do you have, Amy, or what have you done to support local businesses?
So I support local businesses I shop at the local businesses, just like I said before, when I order my fruits and veggies from local farmers. But I live downtown off Washington Avenue, and because of the violence and things that are happening, they have blocked off Washington Avenue. What that is hurting the business owners tremendously. So my thought process is what I want to do is when we block it off, all the businesses pull their tables out in the middle of the street, and we have some sort of social distancing event. I get the kids out there, and we play soccer, we ride our bikes. Not only are we supporting the businesses, but the community is developing as well.
Yes,
so
that is the biggest thing right there, that you guys are getting to know your neighbors, and you're getting to know people, and you're bonding with each other.
Right. And if we can bring money in to the businesses as well to keep the doors open, that's a win-win for everyone, the community and the businesses. So I'm working on this, trying to figure out a way to, since the street's blocked and shut down, let's have a social distancing venue. I won't say party, event, or anything, but a venue of some sort to where people can, and if you haven't met your neighbors, here's a perfect time to do it.
I was driving through Clayton late, probably getting off the air at one point. Passed by Oceano, and between Oceano and the business across the street, and then all the way down to Forsyth. So we're talking a full block. They had pulled out the tables. They had music. And I guess what I'm speaking on is that collective responsibility.
Yes.
I'd love to see it with businesses. Your idea was so, and I was at the light and I stared like, wow, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
More people will come and collectively raise the participation and patronage of all of those businesses there. It was a beautiful night, and they used their resources together to make a great offering. Anybody that was in there was not only supporting them, but they were collectively responsible for what's happening in the community. So one of the things I would say is St. Louis Community Credit Union. Credit unions, if not just them,
I like credit unions. They're very
locally owned ways to take care of your financial transactions, and lots of times you'll find great rates. What's another way we could support real quick round robin? Teena?
Well, I'm thinking restaurants, because I just love to eat. I'm a foodie, right? So I like to go around to, Jamaican Me Hungry and the African Palace, different restaurants like that.
Okay, I need your list.
Yes. So I love that. And then too, now I'm starting to look into entrepreneurs that I know, like, people over Paparazzi, Shalene. I've been purchasing earrings from her and different things like that. So that's other ways that I can support, entrepreneurs and businesses in the community.
I did the same thing. I went and purchased some art from a local artist, and she's hand delivering them to me this week. And then I purchased some books from people. I just put on my Facebook page, entrepreneurs who've written or whatever you have, I want to support you. That's a great way to do it. So that's a great, subject on that.
I think for me, because I have such a strong, powerful voice, it's about leaving reviews and taking pictures and getting the word out.
Anybody watches, one of the best things to do is expand the reach of their hands. If we can refer, if we can promote, if we can advertise, if we can sample, share, those are the very best ways that we can is to advance their equity by investing time, attention, and energy that can take their small business a lot further. So those are super, super good. Make sure you tell people to love our show. To watch our show. They'll love it automatically. But thank you so much, ladies, and for giving me that girl time today. And thank you so much, everyone, for watching Let's Talk. You can catch new episodes every Tuesday. Comment and let us know what you're talking about as well as what you're loving. And we want to be sure that you're joining the conversation. Make sure you follow us on STL TV on social media. You can watch the live stream there. And we will see you next week, wherever you are. Take care, do blessed, and be blessed. We be working hard, laying down the conversations all about what's happening in the world around us. Okay, I don't know. Since you won't be here, Teena, do the next promo.
Oh, did you see how she just did you? She
I know, right.
Okay.
And did you see my face?
It's a lovely face. It's a lovely, lovely face. That is good.